He is considered one of the most powerful dark wizards to have ever lived, second only to Lord Voldemort. Gellert Grindelwald was an extremely talented wizard and once posed a serious threat to the wizarding world at the height of his power. He once mastered the Elder Wand. But how did he achieve the credential of his darkened fame? He perfected almost every aspect of dark magic, which led him on top of the list of the most dangerous dark wizards of all time, long before Lord Voldemort appeared. He was adept at casting the Cruciatus Curse, a highly skilled duelist, able to fight with Albus Dumbledore when he was at the height of his power, entered history with him as their encounter was named the greatest duel ever fought between two wizards. He was an extremely accomplished Occlumens, as even Voldemort, who had gained a reputation to be the most accomplished legilimens alive, was unable to penetrate his mind. So, who is Gellert Grindelwald? He was born in 1882 in Eastern Europe and attended Durmstrang Institute around 1894, where he excelled in magic and absorbed much of the strength-obsessed and dark-flavoured school culture that Durmstrang had quite a reputation for. At Durmstrang, he was educated in the dark arts and taught that they are a means to an end, a powerful and mysterious tool for a strong-willed young wizard to use to achieve his ends, as well as not adequately convinced of their tendency to lead down a dark path of self-destruction. He viewed dark magic as a means to gain power, and, with power, control his own outcome. He never completed his education in Durmstrang, as he was expelled for attempting dark, twisted experiments. Let's not forget, Tom Riddle's first experiment was the creation of a Horcrux. So when you think of the level of severity of Grindelwald's experiments, it's possibly on the level of Tom's, which merit an Azkaban sentence, let alone expulsion. He was keenly interested in history, lore, and the power of magical artifacts. He became fascinated with the Deathly Hallows, to the point of appropriating the runic symbol as his own personal emblem, and engraving it on the walls of Durmstrang prior to his departure. It was his pursuit of the Deathly Hallows that led him to Godric's Hollow in the late 1898 or early 1899, and it's also where he met and befriended Albus Dumbledore. The two teenagers shared a lot in common. They were intellectuals and class-toppingly talented young wizards who were idealistic and ambitious. Albus felt his life was boring and complacent living in Godric's Hollow, which led him to thoroughly embrace Grindelwald's exciting and infectious personality and beliefs. Albus fell in love with his new friend, although the feelings were not returned. Together, they had set themselves two motives: to acquire all three Deathly Hallows and become the Masters of Death. Grindelwald wanting the Elder Wand to feed his ego, obsessed with achieving power, while Dumbledore wanted a Resurrection Stone to reconnect with his deceased parents and loved ones. They believed that the magical world was superior to the Muggle world, and should not have to live in secrecy. Hence their plan to end the International Statute of Secrecy, and enslave Muggles upon their ranking, run by a global government. They coined the phrase that would become Grindelwald's slogan, and the justification for his moral indiscretions and atrocities, for the greater good. The friends' plans to leave Godric's Hollow, acquire power, and begin their revolution turned serious. When Dumbledore's brother, Aberforth, became aware of this in the summer of 1899, he was disgusted with Albus' ambition. The tense situation boiled over into a confrontation, and Grindelwald, enraged, inflicted the Cruciatus Curse on Aberforth. Albus moved to defend his brother, igniting a vicious three-way duel in which Ariana was accidentally killed. Aberforth and Albus were devastated. Presumably Grindelwald was also remorseful, as there is no evidence he was an emotionally cold person. Unwilling to face Albus, he fled the country and received putative blame for Ariana's death, thus confirming his place on the wrong side of the law and touching off his career as a dark revolutionary. Grindelwald eventually tracked down the Elder Wand, the Gregovich's workshop. He laid in wait for the Wandmaker to return, stunned him, and stole the wand, thereby becoming his new master. This action was the first of him acknowledging that wand ownership did not only pass through murder, as the prevailing interpretation of the lore at the time was widely thought. He succeeded in creating a prison, Normangard, to serve as a form of containment for his enemies, apparently sufficiently impregnable that he was later imprisoned in it, inaccessible to his former supporters and breached only by Voldemort. In what few accounts of Grindelwald's revolution exist, his great power as a wizard is mentioned often, but there is less mention of his crimes. Though he certainly wasn't as blatantly murderous as Voldemort, allusions made to his rise to power suggest that he was operating on a grand scale. Dumbledore, for instance, referred to as building an army, and unlike Voldemort, he felt secure enough to build a prison. He was also noted to be capable of a dark magic from a young age. Grindelwald was building an army and vast becoming a grave threat to the wizarding world. Albus Dumbledore hesitated to confront Grindelwald, despite the belief held by many, including, quite possibly, both men themselves, that he was the only wizard skillful enough to stop his former friend. The head of Transfiguration at Hogwarts was finally importuned by people who suffered from his former friend's actions to move against him. Eyewitnesses stated that it was the greatest duel ever fought between wizards. Dumbledore bested Grindelwald, becoming the master of the Elder Wand and sending his defeated foe back to his homeland, where he was tried. He was convicted and imprisoned in the topmost cell of Nurmengard. 53 years after his defeat, Grindelwald was slain in his prison by Voldemort, who was searching for the Elder Wand himself. Grindelwald showed no fear during this confrontation, taunting Voldemort by name and laughing at his desire for the wand. Voldemort ended Grindelwald's life with the killing curse in the spring of 1998. Grindelwald was idealistic to an extreme and was possibly a pure-blood supremacist as well as a Muggle hater. He had absolutely no complaints about the murder of hundreds of innocent people who, from his perspective, were lesser than he. That being said, he did understand at least the rudiments of how death affected other people, judging from the fact that he fled in fear of his life after the intense duel between him, Dumbledore, and Aberforth. Some consider Grindelwald the most powerful dark wizard in history, aside from Lord Voldemort. Of course, history is very long indeed, and the most recent parts are often best remembered.